Whoa! Wow! What's up, everybody? Evening hour. Episode 133. Oh my God. Let's have a party on a Monday. Oh boy, where are we at? Come on. Come on in, folks. Cheers. Happy Monday. Oh, almost forgot. Look, I'm actually... Oh my God. Here we go, folks. And we are... I forgot to put the vinyl on. You see how live this is? There we go, a little Bach. What's up, everybody? Happy New Year. Happy... Thank you, Ruth. We're gonna have a good one tonight. I'm jacked on life and caffeine. And tonight's subject's juicy. And for those of you that don't know what the subject is, you will like it, trust me, even if you're not a game nerd. What's up? I'm Cardone. This is Evening Hour, episode 133. On Cardone Entertainment, I'm Adam Cardone. What's up, people? Tonight I'm drinking Guinness Zero. Excellent, excellent no-alcohol beer. It has the ping pong ball inside the can and the nitrogen bubbles. Party on. As you know, this makes me yawn. So, did I haven't been on since last year. Is that true? Oh, hey. Hold on. My record's skipping. I'm trying to read the chats. If you are new to this channel... Hold on. Serious technical difficulties. What the heck? Oh, there's dirt on the record. Okay. If you're new to this channel, I'm going to sit in my thinking position already. Please, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notify. If you're the donating type, hallelujah. Great, I do all that too. But, more importantly, hit the like, hit the subscribe, all of that. You'll see people wipe the stash. Oh, do I have schmutzy schmutz? I can't tell. It could be food from earlier. I like live. This is a live show. So, please chat. Say hi. If you're a new person and I've never met you before, please say hi. This is a friendly group. If you are an old friend and you have a weird Instagram name, or I mean YouTube avatar name, tell me who you are. I got a lot of people in here that are here every week, good friends, people from all over the world. We got Achilles, Ruth, Jason, my mama's in the house. Who else? I believe, oh yeah, Melissa's in here, Amanda's in here, Camilo, and William. Party on, let's have fun. There's a bunch of other people in here. I can't see you, but you can see me. So say hi, give me a shout out. I will give you a shout out. Before we get into the juicy subject, I hope everybody had a great holiday. Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's, all of that. I did the polar bear, but I had technical difficulties with the video live. It wasn't, the signal was terrible. I spent a lot, when I think of the holidays this year, I think of family, food, games. Yeah, simple, nothing fancy. I laid low. Oh, look at this find. I got this at a Barnes & Noble's for half price. It's the soundtrack to the new Suspiria movie. Look at that. Yeah. Basement's in the house. What's up? What else did I want to show you? Big deal for me. This morning I finished this book. I have been reading it for a few months now. It's one of the best books I've ever read. No kidding. I had a blast reading it. It's meaty. I mean, really meaty. It's an eye-opener, and I wanted to read a couple short little aphorisms that are in the back that blew my mind. Yeah, isn't that cool, Melissa? Look at this. I actually like the new Suspiria movie. Some people hated it. I love it. I really do. I think it's a good movie. Here's an aphorism that I really like. Oh God, which one? Here we go. I posted this one the other day. I thought it was really good. Isn't that beautiful? The colors, right? Wait, I'll show you the vinyl too. This is aphorism 574. Magical vanity. He who has boldly prophesied the weather 3 times and has been successful believes a bit at the bottom of his heart in his own prophetic gift. We do not dispute what is magical or irrational when it flatters our self-esteem. Now, I like that because it's true, but I also like it because of the implications of how that can be used. It's pretty deep. A lot of people on here will have hours of chats on that one. Thank you. I have a lot of weird game tables around. Here's one. I like this one. This one just says suspicion. People whom we cannot tolerate, we try to make suspect. That's a big one. It's a short and big one. And then here's one here. Wow. Okay, hold on. Oh God, there's so many here. This one's called sacrifice, and then I'll stop here. If there is a choice, a great sacrifice will be preferred to a small one, because we compensate ourselves for a great sacrifice with self-admiration. And this is not possible with a small one. I love it. Now, don't think that this book is just aphorism after aphorism. The way it's orchestrated into a climax is amazing. I think his best book for that was Beyond Good and Evil for me. It started off like a philosophy book, kind of whatever, but it was building to a specific point. And this one certainly does it. It's a killer translation. Yeah, highly recommended. I will now start Twilight of the Idols. Not this translation. This is not a good translation. I will start this one. Booyah. This is the Penguin Classic. It's Twilight of the Idols. I can't wait to read it. And I'm also reading right now, and I just started. I'm on the first chapter. I've read all the intros. Friedrich Nietzsche, The Will to Power, which he did not write this. It came out after he died. It was put together of his lost notes and things that he intended to release that he didn't. But this translation that's edited by Kaufman, blow your head off, folks. Anybody on here? Hey, who's in here? Elior Detchter from Israel. Wow, all right, this is great. We really do have people from all over the world in here. Legend of the Daywalker. Swords up, brother. How are you? One of my good buddies is in here who's a magician, a martial artist, a cool dude. What's up, brother? We were having a Dracula chat online today. He's a fan of... We both are fans of Blackula. It's one of my... It's my favorite vampire movie. And he loves it too, and we're always chatting. So cheers. Thanks for dropping in. And we got somebody from Israel. So anywho, Friedrich Nietzsche, I'm in a Friedrich Nietzsche hole. I really like his books. I like talking about them. I've learned a lot about reality, and I will continue down that hole. Tonight, some of the subjects that we talk about, which we're going to get to the main subject soon, I want to tie it to a couple things I learned from Friedrich Nietzsche. Now, on the note of games, because tonight is not a Boardgasm episode, okay? This is evening news, evening hour, live, episode 133. I have another show on this channel called Boardgasm, which is my board game nerd stuff. And if you watch this show, you'll know I talk about board game nerd crap all the time. It's my hobby that I don't really... Most of my hobbies I figured out how to make money doing so that I don't have to work. My work is I do magic shows for a living, and I play music, and I live as a performance artist. I play games, I dungeon master, I paint miniatures. I've been doing nerdy game hobby stuff since I was very young. Some of the people that I gamed with are probably in here right now watching. Some of my present game friends are probably watching here too. Okay? So tonight's episode, we're going to talk a lot about the game, the board game, ultimately the role-playing game business in detail, because it reflects in a very large way what's going on in the world today. And all the problems in the world are completely reflected in what I'm going to bring up. But besides that, there's a game that I played many years ago that I'm going to start again. I wanted to mention Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. It's a game that you slide this open, and there are case files, and you read the case file, and you try to solve the case. And you get a newspaper for each case file, a map of England, and a London directory. And you get to solve the case. There's no board, there's no nothing, it's talking, and the more... Uh-oh, my phone is not ring, and someone's ringing me. Who rang me? Let's see. Ah! Patsy! Hi, Patsy. Patsy's in my game group. Patsy, you're going to really love this. What's going on in the game world is going to affect DCC. So please chime in. I want to know your insight too. Amanda, it is fun because you can play it over the phone. You can play it over a court. You can solve one of these cases. If you're watching, Patsy, you were asking about this today. You can solve the case in one night, or you can do it over weeks. The more clues you lose, the lower your score. And there's 10 cases. So I'm about to start it up again. It's a really fun game. Anywho, beside that, Dungeon Crawl Classics, my favorite role-playing game of all time, this just came out. I kickstarted it, I think, 3 years ago. And here it is. Patsy, you're going to get to play this game. He's in the campaign that this will happen in. It's called, I don't even want to show the name, but Devil Lich is the name. It just says Devil Lich, Crypt of the Devil Lich. And it's a module that's this thick. I can't wait to run it. It's beautiful. And they also put out, there's a 5e edition. And you're going to hear a lot of terms tonight you might not be familiar with. But 5e is the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. Which means, okay, for the game people that are the people that are not game people, I'm going to give you a little thought bubble on this. When people say, hey, Fallon, how are you? The game is Dungeon Crawl Classics. This is the rule book for Dungeon Crawl Classics. It's my favorite role-playing game of all time. It is not Dungeons and Dragons, but it behaves the same. Okay? And this game exists because Dungeons and Dragons, the company that owns them, which that's what we're talking about today eventually. Hold on. The company that owns them let smaller game companies use old game systems that they're just never going to use ever again. They're like, yeah, go ahead. You can even publish material for it because it helps us in the future. So that's what this game is. It's an inexpensive, really well-made, homebrew role-playing game that when they make adventures, like this Lich thing, right? This adventure I just showed you. It's an adventure to take that game on. They also make one that somebody who plays the official Dungeons and Dragons can say, hey, I can take this game that's not for Dungeons and Dragons, and they released a version that's compatible. Okay. And that's what that game is. And I love this game, and they just put out something new that I cannot wait for my players to play on. Now, that said, this game, this Devil Lich game module, will take up many, 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 many game sessions and might even... Fallon knows about Ral Partha. I love it. Of course you know what that is. Yes, they were... I have some here. They were not cheap, remember? They were kind of expensive. But very beautiful and highly collectible. Oh yeah, here's Crypt of the Devil Lich. So you see when they put them out, it says DCC RPG. They also have one that says 5E. And that's them saying Dungeons and Dragons without saying Dungeons and Dragons. 5E means 5th edition, which is what we have right now. If you play, quote, Dungeons and Dragons. So, that said, I want to start my rant, because I have some serious things to say. There are people's careers at stake because of these decisions that are being made. Ultimately, the hobby will be affected by what happens. So I'd like to tell you about it right now. And then you can all go on a hole looking online at lawyers and whatnot. So what I'm going to tell you now is based on rumor. But the thing is, all the smart people online that run podcasts and lawyers that run game podcasts, there's a lot of lawyer gamers. I wonder why. There's a reason. A lot of those lawyer guys all said it ain't a rumor. It's an intentional leak. And the reason why they know this is because Kickstarter's also involved, and they said, yeah, well, we did negotiate, blah, blah, blah. So it's real. And they leaked something very serious, which I'm going to talk. Before we get to the leak, what happened, because it's kind of a nuanced thing, I just want to say why I'm talking about this. I started roleplay gaming when I was pretty little. Dungeons and Dragons. That's what we had. That's all there was. They invented a system of gaming that no one had ever seen before, where you don't need a board. You have rules and you have charts and graphs and you're rolling dice and you're referring to charts, but the playground that you're playing on is here. It's, you might draw something on a piece of paper or put a mini on the table to show where someone's standing, but ultimately you're imagining scenarios and then rolling dice to see if certain things happen based on a character that you have. That's the character's numbers, you're 5 strong or whatever it is, you have numbers. That game system is Dungeons and Dragons. Years later, other companies started doing other versions of that use different rules, completely different rules. Some of them were similar, some of them were very different. Some used different dice, but at any rate, there are many games. And then the miniature game business got popular. People that played little soldiers and had armies, that's a different game. That's Warhammer. But that got popular. That's another game company. And so you have Dungeons and Dragons, you have the Warhammer, you have all these little game companies. And I played Dungeons and Dragons, and then I discovered Warhammer. And I stopped using Dungeons and Dragons, and I started playing Warhammer. But then they put out a role-playing game that's totally different, and I started playing that. So that's how I left Dungeons and Dragons early for a different game system. And I went there because I liked the world they had created better, their fantasy fluff. When I say fluff, I mean all the lore, right? I thought their fluff was better, and I thought the rules were actually better, and I was more familiar with the fluff. So I did Warhammer, and then Warhammer went public, and they became corporate, and the company went, and I quit. So I played Warhammer for 20 years, and then I stopped. Then I went full on to all the independent game companies. I discovered all the new board games coming out that are better than anything I had ever seen. I discovered Dungeon Crawl Classics. I discovered Dungeon Degenerates and all these new games that are coming out, right? That's my history of role-playing gaming, and I play Dungeon Crawl Classics, which is kind of like 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons. They took 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons and made it a better game. Changed it all up, made it better, added more dice, and made what I think is the greatest role-playing game ever made to this day. and I will never stop. It'd be really hard to get me to play another one. So here we are. Now, here's why they're able to release that game using Dungeons & Dragons rules. It's called the Open Game License. Dungeons & Dragons was awesome. They were like, look, we're going to open it up. So here's how it got there. Gary Gygax is the creator of Dungeons & Dragons. Then him and a couple guys made TSR Hobbies, the company that will release Dungeons & Dragons. And they got huge in the 80s. But they weren't too huge. Yeah, they were making millions. But they weren't Disney. And nerds were still getting made fun of. Okay? And when you think of Dungeons & Dragons in the late 70s, early 80s, you think of smart, nerdy, pot-smoking, rock and roll degenerates. But smart. The smart versions of those. That's what I think of. That's why I thought it was cool. I was like, oh, these are the smart degenerates. The Dungeon Degenerates. Oh, well, you know who that crew was on 8th Street, Fallon? I was there so much, it was like, I don't know, Cheers. I was there every day with my son. We were painting and playing, a whole story. Loved it there. And then it died. It got really weird. So, anywho, this open game license, Dungeons & Dragons, sorry. So, TSR Hobbies eventually was bought by Wizards of the Coast. And they are the people that own Magic the Gathering. So in the 90s, the card game Magic the Gathering got huge. And they were like a monster force to reckon with. And they bought TSR Hobbies, the coolest game in the world, Dungeons & Dragons. So now Wizards of the Coast has Magic the Gathering, Dungeons & Dragons. They are the nerd kings. And then Hasbro bought them. Oh, by the way, Hasbro is owned by Venture. I think it's called Venture Corp. Is it Venture? Look it up, somebody. I believe Venture. So, anywho, they're owned by an Uber corporation. Somebody who makes billions of dollars. And I really mean that. Hasbro's owned by one of those massive megala firms. And then you have Hasbro, and then you have Wizards of the Coast. And in Wizards of the Coast, you have Dungeons & Dragons. They said, hey, we got these old editions that suck, or at least they think they suck. Go ahead and make content. You just can't use words that... You can't say Dungeons & Dragons. You can't say Dungeon Master. We own that. You can't use Beholders. You can't... Certain monsters we own. But go ahead. Because ultimately, it helps us. You create third-party stuff, it helps us. So they said you can use the rules, and you can market stuff for us. You can make games that we can use. You just can't use the words and stuff, right? And all you had to do was print that in your book, and that's it. And it said that it was perpetual. So companies were like, this is great, man. They basically, the miner company said, hey, guys that make pickaxes, track, carts, go, make the stuff. It's going to help us, please. I'm creating a world, a hobby scene, a group of humans that are going to support this awesome hobby, and we're going to get rich, and they're going to make a little bread too on the side. Let's do this. This is great. Most nerds I know are not in any of this stuff to get rich. We all love this stuff. So, some smart nerds start making games like Dungeon Crawl Classics and Pathfinder and some other cool games that are, open source game. Yeah. And so they open sourced it up. They said go, and an industry was born. And Kickstarter became a place to raise the money to pay for the games. It's perfect. And then Stranger Thing comes out. Everybody and their grandma wants to know what Dungeons & Dragons is. It starts to get popular, but the game itself, it's never going to get that it's still kind of nerdy to sit there with paper and pencil with your friends. The Dungeon Master buys the rule books and the adventures, the players show up and you play. You drink beer, smoke pot, eat pretzels, listen to music, and play Dungeons & Dragons. That's what it is. That's why it's awesome. You don't need anything. You need pencil and paper. And dice. You know, and there's a million people making dice. So here's what happens. Stranger Things comes out. Dungeons and Dragons starts to get popular. And there's podcasts, there's Twitch channels, there's people making dice. The nerd business is becoming mainstream. Nerds like Joseph Manganiello and Will Wheaton and all these famous nerds are now taking it out of the woodwork, and now it's hip to be a nerd. And all the cool girls and all the cool boys that made fun of the nerds now are embracing it in a retro fun way. Will they ever play the game? Probably not. But they're going to try, and they're going to embrace it. Now, Vanguard, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, okay, Vanguard. So, now that the game is popular, they realized when they did the math, because they have shareholders drooling for money, because you have to, that's just the way it is, they go, we're undervaluing our product here. Like the Catholics own Christianity, meaning they invented it and claimed that up until now, they still do, that we're the original ones. They are the same thing. They're like, hey, we invented the whole like D20, D4, D12 system for playing this game in your mind and rolling dice. It's very hard to copyright some of the elements of that role-playing experience, but we sure are going to try. So here's what they did. They said, we have a new version of Dungeons and Dragons coming out. It's version 1. It's not the 6th edition. It's called 1. Meaning we're starting all over, and this is the first edition of what we are going to be for the rest of our existence. Now, here's where it gets weird. There are two elements to this. First, you have the element of ownership of the game, the hobby, and the world of gaming. And then you have the fluff, the lore. Now, you've seen me do rants on how in the last few years, they've changed the lore so much that it's ridiculous. For instance, you're not allowed to use the word slavery anymore. They're getting rid of certain words like slavery, superiority, words that trigger people to think of racial modern issues. Now, for example, in the old games, you might have a bad guy that had slaves, and then the players could free the slaves. You know, you could have an orc guy who enslaves a village, and the players are hired to free them. But they're not going to be doing that much anymore because of the language triggers people. So, I already have beef with that. I started playing Dungeons & Dragons so I could be immoral in the game. I mean, it's a way to vent and have fun with your morals and do bad things and pay the consequences, ultimately, right? So, that's a whole nother debate. That's a free speech. Even though they're a private company and allowed to do what they want, it's, to me, as soon as you start really breathing down the neck of words that are upsetting, even though the game's supposed to be upsetting, meaning there's horrific elements in it, there's horror. As soon as you go there, the art community of thinkers is just like tainted now, and you're never going to get a good artist in there. So anywho, different debate. We're going to focus on the game side, okay? Because they, in this Dungeon 1 thing, this new Dungeons and Dragons 1, the rulebook will be an online experience. It'll be a living rulebook. I love it. Fallon says, if you write background for a beholder, does that make you a fluffer? Yes, it does. I would say it does. That's good. That's a good thing. I'm a role-playing game fluffer. I love it. Human All Too Human's a great book. So, back to this open gaming, Dungeons and Dragons 1. They realized Dungeon Masters spend all the money. Players don't spend as much. Right? It's a fact. I'm the Dungeon Master in my group. I buy the modules. I don't expect anybody to pay me for that. It's for me. Everybody buys dice. Some people buy the rule book, but that's it. It's not like an ongoing thing. Well, in Sideshow, we have a thing called a ding. A ding is after you bought your ticket and the show's over, I'm going to ding you for another $1. There's a side hustle, a new show, an extra show, a bonus artifact that you get to see for $1. The ding. Well, notice the ding is now everywhere online. Everything's a ding. Your car has dings now. If you want heat in the back seat in a Tesla, it's a ding. You got to pay. So, of course, being corporate whores, they're going to ding the players by this one experience. Meaning, you sign up to be a member of this Dungeons & Dragons live garbage, and then the players will have templates, things to make it easy to play, things to enhance the live experience. And you got to pay. It'll be a monthly. It'll be a thing. And the Dungeon Masters will be able to reward their players digitally, currency. Okay, sounds fun. People are like, ooh, it sounds fun. Well, great, but you'll see if it goes that direction, it's all over. All of it. Not only is it over, no one will own it. It's all gone. And you'll see the dark side in a second. And it is going to go that way. I'm just saying it is, and it's going to be pretty bad. I don't really care. But I'll show you. It's very interesting. So, Dungeons & Dragons 1 is here we are. It's new. And all these people that have that open game source thing that they're hustling, the open game license that you just put it in your book, well, we're going to renegotiate it. And so that's what got leaked, is that document. And it is shocking. Well, first of all, it revokes the old one and says that one was never forever. And if you sign the new one, you are admitting that that's no longer valid. Okay, that's the first thing in it that's weird. It says it's perpetual in the old one, but the new one gets rid of that. And that's what they're kind of arguing right now legally, the lawyers online, of what that nuance is. One of the podcasters said they used a DCC spell as an example. Patsy, you'll know what this is. It's like casting a spell that lasts forever. But, and the asterisk is, you have to kind of concentrate it for it to last forever. As soon as you break concentration, it stops working. You have to do it again. So that's what they're saying this open game license is that, yeah, it says forever, but it's all reliant on us, and we're changing our opinion, and that's that. So, all right, now, you ready for this? The ding is exactly why I don't subscribe to OnlyFans. Yeah, it's funny. The whole thing is a ding. They're dinging you every 5 seconds. I mean, I know people that work on OnlyFans, and they literally solicit. You know, they send private messages coaxing people. You know, it's a scam. All right. Okay, well, here's the open game license that's disturbing. Not only do you have to say that the old one's invalid, if you make more than $700,000, you are owing them 25%, which is the profit margin pretty much for all of this crap after everything's paid for. 25% in the first chunk, not after profit, in the gross sales, in the early one, that they get 25, right? If you make, I have all this written down, but I have it memorized already. If you're on Kickstarter, it's only 20%. They cut a deal with Kickstarter. This has already happened. So that's the first thing. Then it says we own everything you put out. Anything that you put out under this open game license, which is not open, it's completely closed, we own forever and can release it ourselves. And you are not allowed to. And we can tell you to stop, and it says it all in the thing, straight out. It doesn't hide it. Basically what it reads as is, it would be if the Catholic Church said, not only do we own the Catholic Church, we invented everything. And we invented the rosary bead system. So if you're using rosary beads, now if you're not making money with those rosary beads, it's fine. You still have to sign the contract and send us everything that you make so we can approve it. And then if you make money, then so you see what's going on here? They're putting their hands on the hobby itself. All the little nuggets of the hobby too. And they're claiming ownership. Now, is it a legit claim? Yes and no. So, where are my notes? This is where it gets nuts. So, all right. Open gaming license, D&D, yes. Totalitarian, yeah. Hobby ownership. Okay, this is where I was getting at. Yeah, you have to apply for this open gaming license now. You just can't stick it in your thing you're making. Now, let's say I'm making a thing that helps Dungeons and Dragons players. Well, you can't do that anymore. Let's say I'm going to do a Twitch channel on how to be a better role player. They're going to want a piece of the pie. That's what it's looking like. And you agree that you can't sue? Yes, I'm sure. That's definitely in there. Well, okay. So, yes, go back to pen, paper, and pencil. All right, so here's the problem. This is the problem, though. Yeah, we can say, screw you, we'll just do it our own selves and keep it in the family, and we don't need anybody. I have enough modules here. That whole tower, that white tower, from there down to the bottom, which you can't see, is all modules. I have plenty. The problem is it's going to ruin people's lives, their careers, their hobby stores. It's also going to ruin the hobby of creative thought. The Dungeons and Dragons sucks. Their writers suck. Who the hell wants to write for a company that literally says you can't make stuff too scary or too that? Like, they're really breathing down your neck. The artists are not there. They're in the independent game world. This is why they want to own it, because it's better. All the indie gamers are better. It's like every industry. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all of it is built on the backbones of the regular guy who's out there putting in the work and has the creative juice that's unhindered. And now they're like, okay, we're going to cash in now. We let you have fun. We're taking it back. And we're going to make it better, is, obviously the claim. And as we know, it's not going to happen. It sucks. It's really, disturbing, actually. When I saw the open game license, I was like, what? Now, oh yeah, 25%. I mean, that's a lot. Now, here's the question. The reason why this is all popular is because of one thing. Surveillance. Think about it. Everything that's going on now, whether it be parking tickets, speeding tickets, red light tickets, it's all because of surveillance. They're able to do it. How are they able to enforce me playing music? If I played a song now that's copywritten, ding, 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 my YouTube channel shuts off. Why? Surveillance. Okay? Here's a story. You can believe this or not, but the federal government is actively censoring all social media. Okay? We do it in other countries via spy work, and we do it domestically. Anybody that doesn't believe that is a fool. And yes, Elon leaked it, and yes, people hate Elon, but the left-leaning channels like, CNN and NBC, not the writer-leaning like Fox, they went after Elon and didn't go after the whole fact that he's proving that the CIA has a big hand in a lot of stuff. And so from what I gather, they were saying, hey, we don't like this stuff. It's a little weird. Can you please edit it? Twitter goes, no, argues and goes, yeah, but it's going to cost a lot because it's extra work. And the Fed goes, how much is it going to cost? Just let us know. And Twitter goes, oh, really? 10 grand. And then they go, how about 10 million? Okay? This is how it works. This is how the variety business works. This is how the magic show business works. This is how all business works. Things get inflated because you're going to make more money. As soon as money's involved, your brain naturally tries to put the pieces to make the most. They're doing it in all these things. Zuckerberg and all these guys had meetings. And one of the things that happened during deep COVID is when they were doing those fact-check banners, which I'm completely against, because they didn't do it to religious groups. There's no fact-checking those guys. Or astrology, or anything for that matter, or food products that are bad for you. Nothing. So they were fact-checking stuff, and they were going to do it internal messages too. So if I sent you an internal message on Twitter, it would have the ban. They were all working on all of that stuff. Again, surveillance. Now, the problem is, if I send you an email with a file and the surveillance is just a little bit better than it is now, or at least the technology I know of, they'll know what's copywritten and what I can't email, or send you the files for a 3D printed item, or let's just say 3D printed guns. Okay. It's a digital file. It's not a gun. It's a digital file. So now, under the guise of safety, which is usually what they use to get, or safety or fear of getting sick, it's very easy to get people to step in line as soon as you scare them. So, under the guise of safety, we're going to start monitoring online for digital printed guns. Oh, Apple just started doing it for the pedophile weirdos kitty porn on your phone. Like, if you have an Apple, your phone's being scanned for kitty porn, just so you know. I think it's in the agreement. Now, again, I don't like kitty porn. I hope the people that have it get shot, right? Okay, great. But is it okay to scan our phones for it? Is it okay to, like, invite them in your home? Because here's the problem. Yes, what do you have to hide? But will it be used against you when the asshole is in charge? All right, so. VPN and the priority compensation for the... Yes! Yes! You're right, Ruth. Ruth and Fallon, you're right. No, it really is real. Why do you think they didn't want the JFK stuff to come out? Because it also shows the CIA was involved. The CIA and that stuff has nothing to do with the left and the right-wing stuff. That it's nothing to do with it. They want you to go argue about left and right-leaning politics while they do what they normally do without any bother of this over here. It's been that way. I can't believe people don't see through it. This is why I don't vote anymore. So, back to TSR Hobby, Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, Vanguard at the top. How do you fight this? Well, if everybody does this, it'll work. But everybody has to do this, and this is not going to be everybody. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's so funny. It's just a game. Who cares? Do whatever you want. Make it up. The game happens here anyways. But to me, it's a reflection of where things are going. And how willing people are okay with it. You know, the Dead Kennedy album, Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death, that means something to me. I say this to people all the time. Would you rather live in a very safe world or a very free world that's dangerous? And most people I know now say safe. Like, if I ask somebody that I don't know, and I do it all the time in public, I'll go, what do you like, to be totally safe and never get hurt and it's very safe? Or would you like to be in a free world where you can do whatever you want, but it is a little dangerous? They go, safe, right? That's most people. I don't know if people realize the implications of some of those thoughts and what it means. Now, at the end of the day, I shouldn't get upset over any of this because this is what happens to everything. For instance, interesting. So, one of the things I learned about through philosophy and Friedrich Nietzsche is his concept of will to power. And I realized I stopped using that term, will to power, because it's loaded and people think of totalitarian crazy stuff, and even though it has nothing to do with it. So I started using the word expand, because that's what it ultimately means, to expand. So if I say, you tried to donate and can't use the app. Why, thank you for donating. If you go below in the description, I think there's a clickable thing in there. If it doesn't work, there's I think it appears in the chat, or it should. But thank you very much. Let me know if there's a problem, because I'd have to fix it. So I use the word expand. And Nietzsche finally got to the idea that, you know, the fabric of reality has this thing called will to power, which means everything's trying to one-up itself. Everything down to molecules, your mind is doing it with itself. You're doing it to your kid. You're doing your boss. Everything's a dynamic of this power. And the people that go, I don't want to be powerful. Well, you saying that is your will to power. You're removing yourself to feel like you've done something. So I use the word expand now. Everything's trying to expand upon itself. So for instance, and if it doesn't, something else will replace it. Let's just say you're a leader. You become president of a place, a country, and you hold some sort of power. Well, to stay there and to remain in power, you have to continually expand. If you don't, entropy takes over. And this is the problem. Everything's trying to expand. The good guy's trying to expand. The bad guy's trying to expand. And then all of a sudden, they switch roles. Now the good guy's the bad guy and the bad guy's the good guy. It's just the way reality works. Once I saw it like happening everywhere, it made me calm down a bit. So for instance, Hasbro. They're a big company. They're like, we make a lot of money. We have these games. We've got Monopoly that will always make money, even if people don't play it. Do you think you could rate with the Tao of the Orientals? Oh, we'll get to that. That's a cool little idea. Happy are the meek, the most ironic, will to power. Yeah. I love it. Wait, what was I talking about? Tao? Well, Tao, when I think of Taoism from the East, I mean, will to power and the Tao, I'm trying to think of their relation. Well, I don't know. Taoism to me is the ultimate goal of nothingness. It's almost like an embracing, it's a embracing of an absurd notion of nothing. And if you can empty yourself, you become full of everything, wisdom and, you know, and the idea of plugging our holes with music and sounds and lights, you're running from this empty thing. So for a internal meditative way to open up my head, I understand Taoism, but in the relationship to constantly expanding, I don't know. To me, that's a Western value that became this negative thing, which I don't think it's negative. It is what it is. So, for instance, okay, I see. It's supposed to be in the small and big. To me, it's all semantics then, because what is small and what is big? Something we might perceive as small might actually be more powerful and big in its what it's for. It's in its will to power. There it is. Yeah, I don't know. Let me think about that one. That's an interesting way to look at this. Thank you for throwing that in there. Yeah, I've read the Taoist books. I haven't read them in a while. Lao Tzu and Chuan Tzu, his disciple. I've read both of those books that they wrote. And I also read the Tao Pu, the Taya Piglet. I did read all that stuff a while ago. It's a constant in all things. Yeah. I'm trying to think of another word for it. Because to me, expanding is an action. It's not a state of... It is a state of being, but it has an action to it. It's not idle. That's will to power. So Hasbro has a will to power. If they don't make the shareholders happy, they go out of business. If they go out of business, Dungeons and Dragons goes out of business too, or it will get sold. So it's ultimately death for them as an entity. Therefore, what do? So they behave like they do with every company. They run it the same. Where they're wrong and where their mistake lies is they're assuming that the customer base is the same. Now, right. Fallon just brought it up. That's cool. Gravity is a weak force, but constant and the most powerful force in the universe because of what it is. Yeah. Because its role that it's playing. Yeah, it's interesting. The will to power of Hasbro is to grow. It has to grow. That's why the whole business is like, you gotta grow. Because if you don't, you die. That's why the business owners types lean a little to the right sometimes, because they understand the shark quality that's needed, that's perceived to be negative. Especially when you're a billionaire and you're being a shark. They're like, ugh. Well, if he doesn't be a shark, he's not going to be a billionaire anymore. You could say, well, that's not true, but I'm telling you, it's the flow of reality. If you slow down, somebody's going to speed up. Another company's going to speed up. It's just the way it is. If you look at the animal kingdom in the jungle without any influence, it does that naturally. That's what nature's doing. It's overcoming. You know, one species gets this, one species does that. The sun starts doing this. It gets drier. That means this animal gets stronger. Now he's going to overcome this because it's a drier climate. Blah, blah, blah. It's reality. The problem comes into fact, and this is what it all comes down to. Do people believe in objective good and evil? Right? Is that what it all comes down to? I mean, honestly, if you believe in objective goodness in the universe floating somewhere in a ball, then yeah, there's a problem. I don't buy into that. I think there's no objective good or evil. I think things are as they are, even the bad things. I don't attribute them to personified evil or good or intentional. What was I talking to my buddy today? I spent the day in my hot tub today with a friend. And what were we talking about? Intentional things. Something in nature. Oh, just like evolution. I mean, in the creation brain, you know, we have hands like this so we can pick up drinks and, you know, God gave us a hand to drink with. But that's not how it works. Like, there's no end game. If we fast forward the clock, we might evolve into having tentacles, you know, who knows? There's no ought, at least in my world. You know, this is how things ought to be. Like, it's like, no, this is how they are. I would like them to go this way. Obviously, this would benefit me and make me happier if it went that way. And it would not be as good if it went that way for me. It would mean more pain and suffering that way. You know, there's obviously directions, but again, I don't personify them. So, there you go. The new CEO of Wizards of the Coast came from Microsoft. There he is. I mean, that says a lot right there. They're not game nerds. I know Warhammer Games Workshop, they always try to hire game nerds. They know that that's what it is. I always thought Games Workshop, the way their model was more of a religious model. Like, they hired real game fans, brainwashed them to think they were working for the high holy monastery and to follow their rules. Here's an example. I played Warhammer for years. My friends worked in the store. We hung out there. We painted there. We spent a lot of money there. We would go to the conventions, and we would listen to music in the store. Conan soundtrack, Manowar, some thrash metal, right? One day I walk in, and I hear... and I'm like, what is... I can't even be in here. That's going to make me nuts. And the dudes that were working were like, I know, corporate sent us this new thing that we have to play. It makes people, they said, spend more money. So they went and did some stupid test research and hired somebody, paid the money to tell them that makes people spend money. Yeah, in the mall when you're buying clothes at the HMV maybe, but not model paint. Like, what? Like, they don't understand where this game came from. I mean, they might make it into something new that it's not, but it came from degeneracy. It came from me wanting to be a degenerate and reveling in it. You know, like, I'm going to be honest. When I was little, I was told at an early age that Dungeons and Dragons would lead you to the occult, to Satanism, to bad things. And then I remember the backlash. It's like, no, it's not. You know, there's no way. Come on, you dumb religious people. That's not what it is. Well, I'll be honest. They were right. And I'm glad they were right. I'm being very honest. It's what role-playing games are what opened my mind to the rest of the world that I didn't know about. It was my gateway to my brain opening up to new values and new ways of thinking and working and playing and remembering things. And it did lead me to the occult and to the Satanism and to drugs and degeneracy. Why? Well, because the game was based on the idea of using your imagination to just literally create whatever you want, and then in that creation, play. And that play might be benevolent, it might be malicious, it might be adventurous, who knows? But it's up to you. And I remember this feeling of freedom when we would play. Or even if I wasn't playing, I felt free knowing that I knew how to play and that I would put a lot of work into getting ready to play. And so, well, that's it. I know. It really is. It's all about opening your mind. Even the drugs. I mean, I'm not saying to go out and do drugs, but that's where it came from. And honestly, that's all it was. And so all the religious people that shit all over this stuff, they were right. Okay? They were right. And I'm glad they were right. Okay? I don't know why people aren't more honest with this stuff. They hem-haul around this stuff when, to me, it's like, they're right usually. I agree with them and move on. I don't know why everybody fights with them. The crazy religious people that run around and say, God hates fags. You know the sign. You know the guys. They're idiots. Actually, they're kind of smart and sue people, I've heard. They're lawyers. But whatever. They're running around with the sign screaming and yelling that God hates gay people. Well, guess what? They're right. God does hate gay people. It says it clearly in the Old Testament. At least the versions I own clearly say it. Now, are they wrong for saying it? No, they're actually right. So why aren't we picking on the Bible if you have a problem with it? I love gay people. I have a lot of gay friends. To me, they're just humans. I don't put them in a special category. They're my friends. The Bible says that. So when I see the God hates fags people with the sign and they're at least they're being honest. When I see religious people saying that, oh no, God loves everybody and the Bible's wrong, I'm like, whoa. So now you're really picking and choosing what you want. Why don't we just flush the Bible? Or at least admit that it's poorly written. But you can't do that because it's a divine document. So that's the problem. It claims divinity, which is the red flag. Well, the satanic panic is what made D&D millionaires, and they'll admit it. It really is. They were doing, selling stuff out of the back of a car, basically. And then when they got the Satan label of, oh my God, Dungeons and Dragons is satanic, it's what made it sell, because everybody's curious now. Listen, when I was it was either 8th or 9th grade. I think it was 9th grade. The teacher's name was Mr. Esper. Yes, Westboro. So the teacher in my high school, middle school, it was 9th grade, which was middle school for me in my hometown. Mr. Esper knew that me and my buddy Jeff played Dungeons and Dragons. And I remember I sat on this side of the class and Jeff was over there. We always had our books with us. Always. So the teacher started giving us the speech on Dungeons and Dragons being bad. I don't remember why he did that, if he knew we played or he just started telling the class. At any rate, I remember Jeff saying that's not true. And he said that people summoned demons and it opened up dark forces. And Jeff was like, that's not true. We don't summon demons. We might do it in the game, but it's not real. Like, he kind of clarified what was going on. And the teacher went, oh, really? And the teacher asked to borrow the books. And I think I gave him my player's guide and Jeff gave him his Dungeon Master guide. I don't remember who gave what. But he was like, look, I promise I'll take them home. I really want to read them. I want to see what it is, and I'll bring them in. And he did. And he brought them in the next day, and he literally said, I didn't say anything wrong. And we were like, yeah, I told you. There's nothing in here. I mean, it's a game. It's not real. I clearly remember this. But the curiosity was there. Now, why didn't it get more popular? Why didn't it go mainstream? It can't. No one has the patience to sit there and read. If you're playing a board game with anybody and you tell them that's the rule book, that thick, they'll literally look at you like you are out of your mind. They're never going to put the time and energy into playing it unless somebody else did. And so it's reliant on a dungeon master or a group of nerds willing to sacrifice reality to go learn how to do this stuff. It's never going to get popular. It can't. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen online unless it's a video game. It has to be made so easy for the dumbest of dumb for it to get that popular. It's not going to happen. So, you know, they want to oppress. It's their will to power. At least feels. Yeah. No, they have to oppress for them to grow. Think of it that way. People would think like that's a terrible thing to say, but it's like it's not about oppressing people from their end. It's them just claiming ownership and saying, "Hey, you fed off of us this long. Eat it, bitch." Like that's it. Like we're going to make our money now and you can come along for the ride. That's what they're doing. It will backfire ultimately. It has to. Again, they're thinking that this product of role-playing games is something that it's not. It really is paper, pencil, friends. That's it. And the dice, yeah, go ahead. Claim ownership of all games that use D20s and D4s, D6s, D12s, and D8s, and D10s. Great. Claim ownership. I mean, really. Warhammer only uses D10s. Toon, the other game I used to play, uses D6s. They're all different, but they can claim it. Lex Talionis. It's true. The law of the jungle is just there. And you can put a mask on it. You can call it this. You can be the oppressed. You can be the oppressor. Whichever role you're on in this world, wherever you are, it's still the jungle. And we can say, hey, we've evolved out of the jungle. We don't live that way. We are civilized, right? But the jungle, the fabric of reality of expanding, is still there. It's like, to me, all the world's problems, as soon as you remove them, they have a new face. Tribalism rears its ugly face all the time. It comes out as a racist thing. It comes off as a religious bigotry thing. It's tribalism. It's tribalism's the top, and all the other things are subdivisions, right? You can get rid of one, it will be replaced with another. People like to feel like they're important, even on the most small level, and they will make decisions according to that. It's expansiveness. And if you don't want to feel important, and you want to be the guy behind the scenes, then that's another version of expansiveness. It's just not expanding outward, it's more of an inward expansion, which is the other version of will to power. Well, there you go, Fallon. Bam! Camillo says Lex Talionis, and Fallon says the lizard brain is always there. Well, I think a lot of people think that because we have higher values, that the biology part that's perceiving the values is not the same as it was, right? That's the perception. Just like all the dummies that think censorship's good for the betterment of humanity, they're assuming the boss is a good guy. A lot of these are based on some really lame assumptions, like, wow. Like, guns are bad. Everybody should get rid of their guns. Great. You're assuming the bad guys are also going to get rid of their guns. It's never going to happen. So either you enforce the law and the good people give up the guns and the bad guys hold on to them, or you let everybody have guns. That's it. That's the only answer. As soon as you monitor the people with guns and say, hey, you can't have that, the person saying, hey, you can't have that, eventually will be the guy that you don't want saying that. So, well, that's it. You can't out-morale biology. That is it's true. Maybe after another 100,000 years, parts of our biology and chemical output and whatever might adjust to adapt to this, after the qualities that make people survive better in the future might be different. Having Whoa, look what Zalfon says. I love this. Dude, Zalfon's being creative. Look, I haven't seen him for a while, and Zalfon just said something funny in the chat. I've never noticed that. It says, Zalfon says, the overlords at YouTube do not have good taste like Cardone, so please be creative in the use of explicit language. Oh my God. Oh my God. I must have programmed it to say that and I don't remember. That's creepy. Yeah, no, it's a fascinating thing. I really think a lot of the world's problems are based on the fact that we assume that our machine, my brain, my chemicals, my arms, my legs, have evolved to perceive these new like we've embodied these new values, right? I just don't think it's there yet. It's not going to happen. Now I wonder what you can't say. I think I only made it that you can say anything you want except for... I don't know. I forget what I did. There was a reason why I put the restriction on the F-bomb in there. Oh, I know. New YouTube rules. If you say any words like the SHIT, F-bomb, even ASS, HOLE, that word, if you say it within the first like 5 minutes of your video, it shadow bans it. That's real. Look it up. That's new. Brand new. So a lot of people that have swearing in their old videos, famous people like the Kyle Kalinske shows and the Jimmy Dores and the people that have big podcasts, their old episodes that have any swearing in the beginning will get the shadow ban. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. This is why it's weird where you imagine being able to look at your 5th grade notes that you were passing to your friends and that being used against you at your new job. That's kind of what's happening now on the internet. They're able to dig up stuff and make it go viral, and then you get canceled, and then that's that. It's kind of creepy. So, again, the main subjects tonight are things are as they are, things expand, and that means people get screwed over. It is what it is. It's all pay attention and position yourself. The second thing I would say is the problem is the surveillance world that we're living in. And when it's suiting you and your team benefits, you cheer it on. Really, people do. And when it's not on your team, you cry and scream about it. And that's very common. And what needs to happen, the people that cheer it on when it's benefiting them need to shut their mouths and understand how bad it is. You know, during the pandemic, the whole like misinformation, I don't even like the word misinformation. Okay, what does that even mean? Everything's misinformation. Everything's an interpretation and not right. And science is not perfect. And not only is science not perfect, the method of science is pretty sound. The scientists doing the system are not. And they're bribable, and they all work for big companies. And they all have jobs, and they all want to get paid. So, when I take that all into consideration, yeah, we have to all be super critical at our own teams, whatever your team may be. And as soon as you smell something weird, you have to immediately apply it to each leader. You have to say, hey, would this be good if this type was in charge? Yes. Would it be good if this guy's in charge? No. Then we have to reevaluate. That's, to me, the secret. And now, remember I said everything expands? Well, surveillance is never going to go backwards. It's not going to happen. It's going to go the other way. Why? It's just the nature of reality. It's going to expand. The only way to get rid of the surveillance world would be to go off the digital world. That's just the way it is. It's just going to get worse. We have our phone in our pocket. The cars are going digital. Everything's digital. Everything. Your water, the water plant, the gas, everything's connected now via the internet. And the internet has gatekeepers, like Google. And they're a private company that get bribed by the governments. And they're being told what to do and what not to do and what to censor, and they're also being paid to boost things and to not boost things. So how can anybody have trust in that system? I certainly don't. I mean, give me one example of why I should trust that in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, everything expands. Great idea. Helen says, does this affect our friends at Dungeon Degenerates? I think absolutely not. The only thing that would affect them is if Dungeons and Dragons was like your pun on Dungeons and Dragons, they could sue them for that. But I think they're out of it. They use six-sided dice. There are role-playing game elements in the game, but ultimately it's a board game. I don't think they're in trouble. I think they're way out of it, actually. But it will affect the industry as a whole, which that might hurt them a little bit. It also might make them more money. More people are going to quit playing this game, for sure. So, there you go. Maybe that's their dumb thinking is, look, even if people quit, we're going to make money because they're going to go to these other games, which we own. Hey, you know in Times Square, 47th Street used to be a street with about 15 different music stores. Some of them are really cool. Well, eventually, Sam Ash bought them all. So when you went shopping at all these different stores, they were all owned by Sam Ash. This is what's going on. This is what's going to happen. Notice that Wizards of the Coast, owned by Hasbro, is also owned by Vanguard. You see the expansive nature of it all? It's going that way. Eventually, one company will own basically everything. That's it. It is what it is. So position yourself, don't get too mad, and have fun. Whew, God. I don't know what else to say. I can't believe I talked that long. It's roasting in here. I don't get what they get out of shadow banning. What do you mean, what they don't get? They by shadow banning you, it means no one will see your stuff, and that all the stuff that they want you to see gets seen. And that makes the advertisers happy. Or if you have an opinion that they don't want spread around. Why were they making people lose their Twitter accounts if you said the virus came from China and was man-made when it first started in 2020? To me, that was a big red flag. What do you mean you can't even... Wait, this has nothing to do with us following the rules about getting shots and masks and staying home. I'm just trying to figure out where it came from. And all the people that said China virus and all that guy, you're a racist. When Trump closed the border, they said he was being racist. You can go watch all the videos. It was weird. I was like, wait, why are they yelling at him for that? Like, if it's coming from there, wouldn't you? Right? And then, when I saw they were banning, taking people off of Twitter for mentioning that it came from China, I was like, well, clearly, they're hiding something. They don't want you to know. And I did a lot of research, and it looks like we were basically writing checks for these guys who gave it to these guys who gave it to those guys. And we've been doing it that way for years. Just like in all the wars, we give money to these guys and they do the bad stuff. And then we don't get in trouble. Remember Blackwater? Remember in the Iraq War? Same thing. So I see why. I mean, there it is. And the fact that you're not allowed to say something, okay, how does that work? Well, now we know. The CIA calls Twitter up and goes, hey, we have a problem with some of the stuff here. And Twitter goes, yeah, screw you. And they go, no, no, no. And then you have the feds breathing down your back. And they can do whatever they want. Whatever they want. If they don't like you, they will plant evidence on you. They'll put something in your thing and they'll call the guy. They do it all the time. They have admitted to doing everything I've just said in other countries. You can look it up. There's many people saying, yeah, we interfere with this. We interfered with that. We caused this coup. Blah, blah, blah. We do it all the time. Why are those people shocked when you say that it happens domestically? It's the same. It always will be. That's why they shadow ban. They have an agenda of what they want you to know about and what they want you talking about. If you really pull the camera back, you can see them engineering values that they want you to value. has nothing to do with your values or ones you've made or your traditions. They're going to make new ones. And they do it all the time. I think that, again, it is what it is. They naturally will expand. This is why our founding fathers were damn geniuses. They put the First Amendment. You're allowed to say whatever you want, even if it's hateful, wrong, weird, unfactual, misinformation. If you can't say misinformation, how are you going to have a dissenting opinion on something? Because if you have a dissenting opinion on something, you're saying misinformation about what was said here. It's the other opinion. See? That's why free speech. As soon as you say to this guy, hey, you can't say that, that's when the gun comes out. That's what they that was the whole point. They knew it was going to expand and get corrupt. They knew. Like Monopoly, but worse. They don't even have the eye for directing. Yeah, I mean, they think they know what they're doing, and they do to a certain degree. I mean, when you're in charge of millions of people and you have to get them to behave, you're going to have strong measures. Especially when you can have 1 million weak people lock arms and rush the castle. That could happen too. That's the danger of being in charge of large groups of people. Oh, wow. What do we do? You know what we do? We have an awesome Monday and we enjoy, right? Wow, I had a good one. Who's in here? There's a lot of people in here tonight. Thank you for watching. Really, it means a lot when I have a nice fat group in here contributing. Wow. Westboro Baptist Church. Yeah. So, here's what's happening. In the next week or so, I'm going to have a special guest. His name's Tim Gatehouse. He owns a game store in Pennsylvania called Gatehouse Games in Altoona, Pennsylvania, my hometown. Tim Gatehouse has been my buddy, skateboard buddy, skiing when we were kids, punk rock, and games ever since I was in 7th grade. And he's going to be a guest on the show. We're going to do a back and forth on the gaming business, and we're going to get his point of view on what we just talked about, because he owns a store. And he sells Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer. He has a lot to say, because they mess with those guys too. They make them do certain things and sign certain contracts, and like, he was just telling me, like, they were mad that he was throwing too many contests. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's making you sell more. Like, really crazy stuff. So, his name's Tim Gatehouse. In the next week or so, he's going to be a guest. That's going to be a Boardgasm episode. So, stay tuned. I have some stuff in the works. My goal this year is to keep running these shows and to get sick guests and to do some cool subjects. Thank you. It means a lot. I have to check the donation button. Somebody says it doesn't work. That could be true. Actually, it's funny. I'm going to go over now and look at it. Let's see. It says donate. It works. I just clicked on it. So that means you are in another country. Maybe it doesn't work. So yeah, if you donate, hey, hallelujah. Thank you. If not, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notify, say hello, send me a message, and follow me on Instagram, Cardone Magic. Here, if you're watching, I've been messing around. I hate rope tricks. And I've been working on a magic act that uses rope that's cut. Literally, I hand the scissors to somebody in the audience, and they literally cut the rope while they're standing on stage. So I don't even cut the rope. And then I was going to do a series of rope tricks. I've been working on it for a while, but here, let me see if I can get this one to work. Hold on. You're getting a bonus trick today. Every now and then I'll do one trick on here. I don't like doing magic on my Instagram shows. Watch. Is that not a loop or what? Okay? It's a solid loop. Watch. Bam. I'll throw the scissors right on. Look. Now, If you like that, let me know. If it was stupid, let me know. Look, it's actually on the scissors. The scissors are not trick scissors, by the way. Yeah, I've been messing around with some rope tricks. Subtle little things where, you know, like, you put the rope around your neck, you double it around, and then you pull it through. That kind of stuff. Simple stuff, nothing fancy. I'm ultimately building a routine that I think people are going to like. And I'll show it to you once it's ready. It's not ready yet. Actually, here, I'll do one sequence. Nope, it's not ready. Nope. Well, here, maybe I can do this. These are 2 ropes that are about, I don't know, 5 feet apart. Again, I'm going to have the audience literally cut the rope on stage live. Most magicians just pull out the rope, and I really want them to cut and look and see that the loops and everything are solid, okay? I mean, really, they don't stretch. It's not some sort of stretchy rope. Watch this. Tell me if this doesn't look cool. Watch. Okay. I believe that's a square knot. Watch. Now, it's solid. The ropes don't have holes in them. And then in the show, I'm just going to throw it in the audience. I'm going to give them away. It's the hook I'm working on is cut the ropes, do a trick, throw the rope, and keep moving. And do a whole bunch. Something I've been working on. As I develop it, I'll show you. Yeah, I'm still working on this stuff. What's up? Angela Brooks, Ruth, Jason, thank you. My card magic stuff is my ultimate practice. That's the one I practice the most. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Oh, you know what else is good with rope? This is something you can all do at home. One more trick. This is the teaching part. If you have a rope, these are a little long. You hold it like here with your finger out and watch. In the air, you throw the knot. Look, I'll do it again. Watch. Oh, it fell out. Huh! Oh, hold on. Oh, there it is. It's better when the rope is shorter. When the rope is shorter, you can see the knot. Hold on. There, that was a good one. So that one, you basically hit the rope in the middle and it ties the knot. Try it out. That's something you can do at home. Thank you, everybody. You guys are a great crowd. I really do appreciate this audience. Spread the news. Tell your friends. Hit that silly like and subscribe. I'm going to go party. It's Monday, and it's my favorite day of the week. I will see you here next Monday. I'm here next Monday. I'm actually going to do, I think, every Monday this month. This is one of my slow months. I'm playing catch up with my business stuff. You know, I do work shows in January, but not a lot. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, Ruth, for watching and participating. Really. Party on. I'm going to take us out with the outro. And, yeah, party on.